what if I told you that right now, a sitting British Prime Minister stands accused of orchestrating the most brazen attack on democracy in modern UK history? What if the very man who promised to restore integrity to politics has been caught red-handed, manipulating elections, silencing opposition, and turning the law into his personal weapon against political rivals? This isn't some conspiracy theory from the depths of social media. This is happening right now, and the evidence is so damning that even his own party is quietly preparing to throw him under the bus. If you want to stay ahead of the biggest political earthquake to hit Britain in decades and discover the shocking truth that mainstream media won't tell you, smash that subscribe button now, because what you're about to learn will change everything you thought you knew about power in modern Britain. Picture this scene. A grandfather walks into his local polling station, ready to cast his vote he's done for 40 years. But when he looks at the ballot, something's wrong. Terribly wrong. The party he wanted to vote for has mysteriously vanished from the paper. So he does what any frustrated citizen would do. He films himself spoiling his ballot in quiet protest. Within minutes, police officers are dragging him away in handcuffs. His crime? Daring to question why his democratic choice had been stolen from him. But here's the truly chilling part. This wasn't some rogue police action or bureaucratic error. This was the system working exactly as Keir Starmer designed it to work. The weapon of choice wasn't bullets or tanks. It was something far more insidious called the Community Empowerment Act, sold to the public as a way to give local communities more control over their own affairs. It sounded progressive, even noble. Who wouldn't want more local democracy? But buried deep in the legislation's technical language was a poison pill that would make Stalin proud. The act gave unelected regional authorities sweeping powers to safeguard electoral integrity, which in practice meant they could disqualify candidates, postpone elections, and silence dissent whenever they deemed it necessary. But why would a Labour Prime Minister risk everything to pass such dangerous legislation? The answer lies in a series of election results that sent shockwaves through Westminster. Reform UK, the upstart party that establishment politicians love to dismiss, had started winning. Not just symbolic victories, but real power in councils. Across England, from Grimsby to Gloucester, working class communities were abandoning Labour in droves, choosing reform candidates who promised to actually listen to their concerns about immigration, economic decline, and political abandonment. Instead of asking why voters were fleeing, Starmer's response was to make sure they couldn't flee at all. Internal documents leaked from Downing Street reveal a chilling strategy meeting where officials discussed containment protocols for areas showing reform growth. Maps were drawn, boundaries were redrawn, and vetting procedures were quietly updated to disqualify the very people voters wanted to elect. In reform strongholds, democracy simply stopped functioning. Elections were postponed indefinitely, council meetings were cancelled, and anyone who complained found themselves under investigation for spreading electoral misinformation. The genius of the scheme was its selective application. In safe Labour areas, elections proceeded normally. Local democracy flourished where it posed no threat. But in constituencies where reform had gained traction, bureaucratic obstacles materialized like magic. Candidate application deadlines were suddenly moved up without notice. Vetting requirements became impossibly complex overnight. Community leaders who had served for decades were suddenly deemed unsuitable for public office by anonymous panels accountable to no one. What makes this scandal even more explosive is how quickly the establishment closed ranks to protect it. When civil liberties groups raised alarms, they were dismissed as conspiracy theorists. When legal challenges were filed, they were buried in procedural delays. When citizens organized protests, they found themselves facing arrest under new public order provisions conveniently attached to the same act that had stolen their votes. The breaking point came when a whistleblower inside the cabinet office released recordings of strategy sessions where senior advisors openly discussed using the law to neutralize the reform threat permanently. In one particularly damning audio clip, you can hear officials laughing about how easy it was to manipulate local election rules while maintaining plausible deniability. They weren't even trying to hide their contempt for the democratic process. They were celebrating their ability to subvert it. Now, as court proceedings accelerate at unprecedented speed, the entire house of cards is collapsing. Former Labour loyalists are abandoning ship faster than rats fleeing the Titanic. Internal polls show the party hemorrhaging support across every demographic. Most damaging of all, the very communities Starmer tried to silence are now angrier and more organized than ever before. The question isn't whether this scandal will bring down the government, it's whether British democracy can survive the damage that's already been done. Want to stay updated on every explosive development in this constitutional crisis as it unfolds? Subscribe now and join the millions of people who refuse to let politicians rewrite democracy in the shadows, because this story is far from over.